made collect call from
Joey.
An inmate at New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. This call is subject to recording and monitoring. To accept charges, press 1. To refuse charges, press thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is... Hello, my name is Joseph John Gentile Jr. I'm calling from Fishkill Correctional Facility. Right now we're here to talk about... I've been in prison 16 years for a crime that never occurred. July 29, 2005, I received a phone call, and I still have to remain nameless for now until the truth completely comes out. And, everything that's done in the dark comes to the light. So hopefully through these messages, through this YouTube, we can reach some of the witnesses in my case. Unlike the movie The Hurricane with Denzel Washington, where there was one person, a 911 operator, I have over 300 witnesses. And unfortunately, the vast majority of them are police officers from the 114th Precinct in Astoria, Queens. Well, July 29, 2005, whoever was on duty, Officer Jerry White, Detective Adam Ramos, IAB, Internal Affairs Bureau, Justin Scanlon, don't know the truth that I'm actually factually innocent. I was set up for a crime. July 29, 2005, I get a phone call from my then girlfriend after 2 weeks of her just being like, a ghost in the wind. And basically she tells me that she's pregnant with my child, and she was coming over to discuss whether or not she wanted to keep the child. I was ecstatic. About 20 minutes goes by, I get another phone call from her saying that as she was leaving her house in the Bronx on St. Lawrence, and I'll leave it at that, that dudes that was hustling dope and crack, try to talk to her. And when she refused to answer, saying she had a man, her little brother had to get in between herself. This is her story. This is what she told me. Her little brother was then 15, had to get in between herself and these gentlemen. But one of them produced a 38 caliber handgun according to her. So she called me. She had family that was NYPD that worked at 106th Precinct. So I had asked her, did you call 911? And she said, oh, yeah, I called 911. But Joey, they came, they patted them down, they didn't find the gun, they're still outside my house. So I called a cab. It's outside of Queens, I'm from Queens, New York, outside of Queens, terrible with directions. So I call a cab, and I get in the cab with a 12-gauge Winchester Defender, 18-inch barrel, pistol grip. Bought legitimately from my ex-wife as a birthday gift. So as I roll up on the block, I jump out, I confront these dudes, they back down. I reintroduce her to her neighbors. I take her back to my house to discover hickeys on her chest that I haven't put there. I asked her if she cheated. She says it is what it is with a smirk. I break up with her. Days later, I'm at dinner at a restaurant in Astoria, Queens called El Forno Italia. And I get a phone call from Adam Ramos, Detective Adam Ramos. SWAT team surrounded my house 7 days later. Kicking my dog, kill my dogs. 3 beautiful animals. An American staff, a red-nosed Jeep, and an older female Brendel. And basically in any event, I was arrested for rape, kidnapping. My story made the newspaper January 4th, 2007, New York City Daily News, the Post, and New York Newsday picked up the story as well. They didn't bother to interview me, they interviewed the Queens DA. There's evidence posted, on the internet that basically shows my indictment is completely illegal, that they indicted me using false information at my grand jury. But the reason I opened up with the current and living King of New York and forever the King of New York, Jay-Z's public service announcement is prior to me being set up for over $200,000 worth of stolen money from my company. I worked in the music business. And just to let it be known, and this goes, I need to make this public apology. It was IBF heavyweight champion Ernest M16 Mateen. May God have mercy upon him. May space his grave and may he rest in peace. He had come to me. I was good friends with his wife, Kia Jeffries, who recorded for my label. Then it was called Patriot Records. I believe someone else took that name now and bought out my corporate seal. But in any event, Ernest Mateen came to me with a story. He said, I understand that, Bad Boy Records put out an album with Mary J. Blige called Love and Life. And there's 2 songs on there specifically with Method Man. And Meth, been a fan of yours since I was a little dude. On Rikers Island doing push-ups in the 4 building. So when you refer to me as another Eminem, I I was honored and flattered that you acknowledged my existence. 1, 2, never could I be the lyricist. Many moons ago, many years ago when I was a young man, that M is though, but I appreciate the compliments all around the board, just acknowledging that I existed. Furthermore, Eve, when you did that second track, Love and Life, on the Mary J. Blige album, Not Today, I got that on my tablet too, like I got Jay's public service announcement, but right now I just want to get some things off my chest. I really was set up, and I've been in prison for 16 years. And at one time, you had Kim saying, Christina Aguilera, little Kim saying in the song, something like Girls Around the World, she said a man's going to come and put his name on this idea. I was a walking Me Too movement. I was sent to prison for a number of reasons, mostly being set up because someone stole my money and had Shorty lie on me. Just evidence upon evidence, concrete evidence of my innocence, even phone calls recorded by the Department of Corrections, Rikers Island, where I said, baby, I beg you, come forward and tell the truth. And her response, if I tell the truth, I'll go to prison. When I said, who burned you with a cigarette? Who bruised you? Your sister? She responded, I don't want to talk about that. The Queens DA heard that and turned a deaf ear to it. The reason that he turned a deaf ear, now retired DA John Carroll, under the former head DA Richard Brown, was because he received letters from the Knights of Columbus, letters from Astoria, Queens, New York, Astoria, Queens, Homeowners Association, a number of civic associations in the local neighborhood, and I'll tell you why. Because I gave apartments to black people in an Italian neighborhood. I'm of mixed nationality myself, half Italian. But the bottom line being is that these persons were calling and sending letters and calling my father now, the late Joseph Gentile, Sr. They were sending him letters 2003. Is your son renting to those people? Or did he sell the building to those people? On 45th Street in Ditmars, Astoria, Queens. 4507 was the address. We sold the building. I sold the building. We needed to, legal fees and everything else, but they wrote letters to the judge and DA saying I was an ongoing menace. In my neighborhood, I stopped the home invasion. In my neighborhood, I ran into a burning building and helped people. Never sold narcotics in my neighborhood. Nobody's perfect, and if anyone who watches Ruben Hurricane Carter will see that Mr. Carter, God bless him, may he rest in peace, he had a checky past. He had a rough youth, so did I. I spent the majority of my time from 15 to 21 in prison, trying to redeem myself and do something like I was doing Patriot Records. And when I caught someone stealing, basically, I told him, I made amends with the man before he passed on this August. But he's the one that got to Shorty and had to lie about me and get me 18 years in prison for a crime that never occurred. And I just say to the public in general, the evidence of those phone calls is more than exculpatory. It's clear, convincing evidence of my innocence, and yet I still sit in prison. The courts procedurally reject everything. My new life's work. I don't go through the list. I know how to create buzz, and I definitely know how to be a headache. I apologize for jumping around, but I do have to publicly issue an apology to Mr. Sean Combs. I had done a song that Mr. Mateen had supplied me with some information, and I spoke in a very derogatory and disrespectful way, and basically it was false. I'm a firm believer that the heavens and the earth was built with truth, so I need to speak the truth. I made that song to create buzz. Back before the internet and YouTube was popping in the early 2000s, you needed to do something to stand out to get music distributors to market your music. My intention was good. My intention is finally, I'm seeing it take fruition from TV, from my cell. Now that I'm in Fishkill in the medium, I see it in the yard, on TV in the yard. Now I see the people standing up and becoming more conscious about mass incarceration. Wrongful convictions are rarely talked about because they think DNA just, solves everything. But our system, my people is archaic and basically very corrupted. That if you don't have a Cochran, if you don't have a Carrazzo, if you don't have a Hampton, all these named attorneys, if you don't have them, listen, you could be innocent and go to prison. I'm living proof of that. But the bottom line is that's my new life's work. I need to make honorable mention to again, Ultra Shadow Warrior. You gave my associate Mr. C this idea to record and to put our story out there. You inspired us to do this. But I also wanted to say to Jay, you're an inspiration. You are success to many, and I'll tell you, from behind the walls now in Fishkill, behind the fence, there's many young brothers that respect and aspire to be someone even relatively close to you. I want to give a shout out to Queen B, Beyonce, your beautiful wife, because Actually, myself and my current wife, we fell in love listening to Dangerously in Love. So it was played on the visit floor over there in Greenhaven, some offside on the desk. So I just want to give you a shout out too. But there's so many in the industry that touched my life, and I don't want to forget anybody. The last time I forgot somebody, I was in the studio with Black Child from Murder Inc. And Godfather from Infamous Mob by People. We were recording a song, quote unquote, for the streets, for those in the struggle. And you know, this is my days, man. I believe everybody is three people. Everybody's three people. If you're the same person you were at 12 years old and you're 40 years old, there's something wrong with you. So I can remember who I was, who I am right this moment, who I aspire to be. That's how I say three different people. One face, one heart, but revolving. We're all work in progress. But when I go back to that day, I'll never forget, you know, I was engaging or indulging in things I refrain from these days and will forever. So I was a little bent, basically. I picked up the mic, and Black was like, "Yo, JF, man, you got, you know, my own handle, Joey Fingas. You gotta holler at her D-Block, man. Cassidy shouted you out. This is 2004. So I get on the mic and I start saying, "Yo, all the D-Block, Sick Luke, Styles P, Cassidy," and y'all was so bad, I forgot Jada. About a week later, I turn on radio, and Jada Kiss by far is I don't like to use the word icon. He is etched in history. He is one of a kind. There's nobody in his lane. And, you know, Jada spit on the same track when Big was living right next to the notorious Great B.I.G. So at any event, I just shout everybody out. I'm like, yo, send it out to mixtapes. Get that to K-Slay. Get that to this one and that one next week. And nobody had the heart to tell me, yo, JF, you forgot to shout out Jada Kiss. So just know that a lot of things were misunderstandings when I was working on my label. And know this, I fear none but the Most High. So everything I say is said with sincerity. I fear not the grave, nor the hereafter. I'm right with my Lord. But I want everybody to know that here's this, that right now is a work in progress. I'm working to prove my innocence. I do down the line want to just acknowledge some people, first and foremost in the industry. You know, the current, complete, and forever reigning King of New York, Jay-Z, 50, regardless of associates I had and friends. I don't think I ever smiled more. Be careful, I don't get my wife upset, but the second biggest smile I ever had on my face was when I got on my drop and turned on the radio and heard your joint from Get Rich or Die Trying, What Up Gangster. I never felt, honestly, more important than I did that day. I popped that on, was like, oh shit, Fifth recognized my presence, man, on planet Earth. I'm on Rikers Island from 1996 doing push-ups in the 4, built it all the way to HDM. And, you know, after my little trip to Queensbridge, back when it was the hood, you know, I heard the bridge is really different now, but in 2020, I remember when first time I turned on BET and you was doing Where the Hood At, I'm at a loss for words, X, man. You gotta understand, 16 years old doing push-ups, you know, stop, drop, shut them down, open up, and there you are, spinning around, had me. I'm flattered, I'm on it. I have no intention upon leaving here and involving myself in music. And my every intention, you know, God willing, I'm gonna follow through with is to represent the people. You know, if anybody in the industry, in the music industry, from some of the people I just mentioned, you know, leave a shout out to him, man. Ja Rule, I was in the studio with you, you know I was, man. This is Joey Fingas, man. I was with Black Child when you recorded. I'm from New York, you know, and you know, I didn't escape my attention that first rhyme. That first bar in that rhyme, you kind of shot at me, and I was right there in the studio. You cut Black's verse. But regardless, you're part of my life. You made your history. I respect you. I admire the work you've done, both in music and in entertainment. And just give you a quick shout out. But in any event, if anybody thought, even for a minute, that I was a headache with a limited budget and with disloyal people, like Jay said, man, whether it's 5 years in that sample, Jay, you said 5 years, 10 years, some people lied to you, Jack. You better believe they lied to me. Oh, M said it too. M said, yo, I got 2 middle fingers and I pointed at you. I got Negroes in the front and the back of you. Now think about this, with all those disloyal people in the circle I had around me, I still created enough buzz, a little more than a little bit, for a year or two. Been forgotten. Many have come before me just like me, and many after just like me in the music business. I'm well aware of that. But if you think I was a headache for, you know, anybody back then, just know this, that 16 years of my life has been taken. And y'all remember I said NYC, this Patriot Records, God bless the U.S. Gangsters do real good. Yeah, it was played on Hot 97. After the main mixtapes, I shot with DJ Clue, bought me K-Slay. DJ Envy, I met you on 191 in Jamaica Ave with Black Child, man. You did a great job bringing out Cardi B. But in any event, if any of y'all think for one second, I can't forget Fabulous. Yo, Fabulous, Breathe, one into the two into the shorty in the car, Claudia, you know, she was with me for about a month before she shot that video with you. Again, I'm still a fan of your work. Respecting them all y'all, man. Anybody I forgot to mention, please pardon yourself. I'm on a little crappy phone in Fishkill, and I just gotta get this off my chest when I come home. If anybody in the industry thinks or thought that I was a little bit more of a headache than anybody else up and coming before the internet, when you could just be heard, you ain't seen nothing yet, because my life's work is this. It was done to me with over a six-figure budget from my attorneys, betrayed by my trial attorney. It's been done to countless Americans before me and after me, so this is my life's work, man. You know, the company I keep, inshallah, is going to be that of the honorable brother, Minister Farrakhan, and those of his ilk. These are the kind of people I want to work with, but I just want to bring more action. It's unacceptable. And I just want to leave it at this. I don't want to make it all political, but if a man or a woman, if an American is actually innocent proven guilty, what does my checkbook or your checkbook got to do with anything? If you're innocent proven guilty, you should not be put in the cage before, you know, the trial commences, or for plea bargaining, or whoever it may be. There's nothing involving finance should be involved with that. It's going to take us in the private sector. I believe me, I plan on leaving here and getting my money right as it once was. And it's going to take us in the private sector to put up certain things and make proposals to Congress, also to our legislature and the government in every state, commonwealth, and territory in the union. That looks, there's $1 million budget. Whatever legal aid attorney gets the most overturned convictions, etc. You see where I'm going with it. These are things we need to do as a people. I want to give a shout out to Ice Cube. Cuba, I seen your comment that you work with whoever's in the White House. I'm on the same page. I'm coming home to do this, man. And just to know anybody I offended, you know, if you got something planned for me, as it said in Arabic, alhamdulillah. You know, I'm always prepared to meet my Lord, but I'm focused like a racehorse on a racetrack at my true adversary and enemy. It's not the government. It's just some of the jerks running the government who think lesser than of other Americans because they didn't grow up in a certain area or with certain political advantages or financial advantages. Those are my adversaries, if you may. And I'm not going to meet my adversaries with violence. I'm going to meet my adversaries with the truth. Can't be refuted. False advantages. I appreciate everyone's time. You know, God willing, on the next episode of, you know, my associate Mr. C is going to pick a name. My old handle was Joey Fingas of Patriot Records. Oh, just remember it. Fatso. Crazy big up to Fatso. Fatso, you did lean back. You know, you didn't know that, like, damn, man, from Rikers Island to Queens House, kicked out of the island. Yeah, kicked out of the island was a wild boy in my youth. Red ID. I'm in Queens House in 93, and I'm spitting Flojo like that is the Holy Quran, the whole damn, you know, fifth floor listening to me, Flojo, and no one telling me nothing because I was a 19-year-old psychopath. But, you know, I remember stealing stolen cars with my Sony Walkman, and, you know, I came home from that, and I'm driving a stolen car with police in hot pursuit, and I got you in my ears. You know, never could you be ahead of me. Lean back, man, look, each and every one of y'all in the industry, I know there was triple agents in my little camp of fake-ass Patriot Records back then. And I knew that whatever I do, said, or acted would get back to, you know, those of you that had authority in the industry and still have it. And that's why I was saying and acting like, yo, how dare they? You know, acting like, yo, like Tony Montana and some craziness talking to Soze. But, Sosa, pardon me, but honestly, never have I been more flattered. Never have been more humbled than to hear people I grew up listening to. Even Uncle L, shout out John the Chef that tried to poison me, the Albanian. Shout out John the Chef too, man. See, my life wouldn't be so interesting if I didn't have all these people. Not me and you juggernauts in the industry. Talking about some of the dudes I grew up around that became enemies, tried to poison me, turn the gas on in my house, send shooters to the supermarket, set me up for this crime, have SWAT teams kill and slaughter my dogs who got treated better than most people's children. I've fed them hamburgers I made for them, man. Of course, the trial didn't last, so the jury thinks I was an animal abuser and said the dogs were left in horrible or horrific condition. The male dogs wear Polo Sport cologne, and my female Bella used to have Chanel No. 5 put on her neck and her collar and bathe her once a week. The man every 2 weeks. The boys or whatever. The reason I'm getting to all this, when my trial really becomes public and we can open up that trial from 2005, the public will see what kind of shenanigans went on when you can read about the sidebars, the phone calls, where are the phone calls. And still here I sit in prison. I got definitely shout out without question people I grew up in the hood admiring. Big Dog, Gennaro Esposito, coming home to see you. You don't like me, you don't love me no more, I ain't your brother, that's cool. When I see you, I'm gonna give you a hug. Can't forget Taki, you know what I mean? Your uncles, little legends in the neighborhood for a long time. I hope I ain't forgetting nobody. Now I gotta talk about, the current family in the circle. Shout out to Don Giovanni, Big Don Giovanni, a.k.a. Mr. Palermo himself. I can't forget my brother Los, man. Los, a.k.a. C, a.k.a. Carlito, a.k.a. Carlos, you want to smoke Jaramello? You there in Astoria, Queens, and you all over the place, jet setting all over the globe. You my brother, you stood by me all these years, and I'm grateful. I love you, bro. I miss you. Tommy, can't forget Big Tommy. Tommy and Angela shout you out and the whole family. Even Peter DiPignano, who lied at the trial to save his own neck and placated the district attorney, talking about he heard sounds of the struggle. Sounds of the struggle. People, when we hit the island, man, I was more worried about you than anything. I was sending words to the homies, man. And, I'm not homie. I don't bang or nothing like that. But, I remember when Najee first touched down and Joey motherfucking Fingas, that was my old nickname, was a straight lunatic and psycho. And when I'm so nieta, and Latin case with formal dudes and say, we think they blood, I walk over. And there's a handful of Najee, and I bumped into one on the highway in 05. It's like, yo, I know who you are. But they always knew I was honorable. I put the brakes on any kind of oppression or people jumping on something. And I wish I remembered that brother's handle. But if ever you come across this, you hear this, I'll give you a shout out too, big homie, you heard? When it comes down to it, listen, the stories eventually get told. The hip-hop police got files. FBI got files. They had me linked to organized crime and all this and that. So those become available after a decade. I'm going to have, God willing, we're going to have my old attorney, Howard Sadowski, reach out to some people. I would like him to reach out to the big homie Jay. And, listen, Jay, man, 51% on your end, 49 on mine, perpetually. I mean, from every aspect of it. Because after I get this overturned, they're going to write a book. But they write it the day after I come home or 10 years later. I plan on making a lot more history and give them more to write about. All right, so if I forgot to mention anybody, I got my associate, Mr. C, right now, taping this. And basically, I can't forget Mark Boyce and Echelon. Marky, keep your head up, man. Hope you and EJ are good. And God willing to see y'all soon. Mr. C, post that for now. We're going to come back with some more things. Shout out to EVE. Shout out to Mary J. Blige. Shout out to Big Meth. And Little John. Yeah, the scary one in February. Now I'm going to close it with one last thing. Just so it be known, again, I want to sincerely apologize to Mr. Combs for utilizing his name to create buzz and enterprise. And God willing, you accept my apology, big bro, all right? Okay, that's all I got to say. Mr. C, post that for now, man.
Game over, pertain to the Patriot Bar. God bless the U.S. Gangsta real good years, those with hunger pains is crime. And furthermore, gangsters don't move bricks. We ain't bodies. Got that baby pop.
Getting raw tonight. Possibly getting raw tonight. If you ain't spitting how you live it, nigga, you can't spit it no more. Papa Dog, that shit. One getting raw tonight. Possibly getting raw tonight. Try to keep me in, nigga. Try to keep me concealed, nigga. I'm out the fucking cage now, nigga. A wild nigga on the loose. He was a loud ride. He lost his mom at an early age. Left him in the days in the early rage. Never knew his power, there was no footsteps to follow. Ain't had him under, hollow and no villain. Eyes over. Hennessy ain't helping them none. With an itchy trigger, finger, hand on this gun. Oh, lucky you ain't died tonight. Possibility you getting robbed tonight. I ain't got no pockets are low. Me and my niggas, we ready to roll. Someone getting robbed tonight. Possibly getting robbed tonight. Someone getting robbed tonight. My man will take shot. Man will get shot and man will take shot. Someone getting robbed tonight. What's that? Possibly getting robbed tonight. I'm gonna say robbed tonight. They say they want them take shot. Man I give shot and boy I take shot. I never knew who was sick ups and pick up drugs. Giving niggas love, making them hiccup blood. Never knew my life would get this rough. 11 years inside tears with these handcuffs. I know you niggas can feel my pain. This fool coming around me with his icy chain. No, that's the shit that ease my hunger pain. Know some click, clack, cha-ching. Oh, lucky you ain't died tonight. Possibility you getting robbed tonight. I ain't got no dough, pockets are low. Me and my niggas, we're ready to roll. Someone getting robbed tonight. Possibly getting robbed tonight. You want to right now? Man up detection, man up detection, man up detection. Someone getting robbed tonight. Possibly getting robbed tonight. You gon' get robbed tonight. They say they want them take shots. Man I give shot and boy I take shot. Fight for your right, big on damn fool tonight. Fuck a lot of power, shot a buck shot. Drape up two boy and they gon' steal up for me. Put the picture on me, say me solid as a rock. Ain't like war, I'm trying to keep it, so them bound to take shots. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Tell them Papa down the ones right now. I don't want them calling Scully till. Watch that. Man, them can't eat tonight. Cause we are the ones with them food tonight. Paycheck records, #1 still. Yeah, water.